Welcome back, everybody. It's Zach here, bringing you guys another fantasy football video. Excuse my voice, I got a little bit of a head cold here, so hopefully it doesn't sound too bad for you. But in this one, I'm going to be going over the Week 3 waiver wire. I'm going to go over each position, so quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, and then defense. Go over which players I'd be looking to add to my roster ahead of Week 3. We had a really fun Week 2 in the NFL. We sort of had a nice pendulum swing, got a lot more offense in general, and I think we got a lot of really decent names to talk about here. I think that honestly, it feels like the week two waiver wire is a little bit better than it was last week, which is sort of atypical. But yeah, it should be a lot of fun. If you guys have any specific ad drop questions or any fab questions like that, let me know in the comments below. I love interacting with you guys there. And yeah, let's get into it before my voice gives out here. So starting things off with the quarterback position, I'm going to lead things off here with Daniel Jones. He's just been really good. The Colts are the first team ever, I believe, to not punt through each of their first two games of the season. It's very impressive. Obviously, they should have probably lost to Denver this last week, but putting up near 30 points against a really good Denver defense, that's really promising. Daniel Jones is playing really well. They're using him for quarterback sneaks on the 1 yard line, which is great if you're starting Daniel Jones, not great if you're playing Jonathan Taylor. But overall, it seems like there's enough pieces here, and Daniel Jones is playing really well. You've also got a matchup with the Titans in Week 3, so tough to feel bad about that. So definitely okay to stream Daniel Jones in Week 3. Carson Wentz, just mentioning him, it would take some stones to just pick him up and play him, but he plays Cincy in Week 3, and he's got Justin Jefferson, right? So there's certainly at least some upside there. I think that, in general, we've seen Kevin O'Connell make it work with lesser quarterbacks like Nick Mullins and Joshua Dobbs have had some really good games, and Carson Wentz does have some talent. Sort of seems a little bit like maybe the Vikings are quote unquote letting JJ McCarthy heal from an injury and just really trying to give him some more time. Seems like he played really poorly in Week 2. I wouldn't be shocked if they're sort of hiding behind injury there and go into Carson Wentz. So Wentz is a play that you could potentially consider. Drake May, probably my favorite ad if available, looked really good in Week 2. He was a popular, just breakout candidate going into this season, and didn't have a great Week 1, but Week 2 looked a lot better, albeit against the Miami Dolphins. But he gets to play Pittsburgh in Week 3. Pittsburgh has been horrendous on defense all year long so far. I know it's only 2 weeks, but Pittsburgh has not exactly played really good opposing offenses, and they've still been very beatable. So I like Drake May in Week 3, and then Sam Darnold to play the Saints in Week 3. Looked really good last week again against a really mediocre Saints team. We just saw Mac Jones put up a really good game. Sam Darnold can do the same thing. I think you can play him if you need to this week. Moving on to the running back position here. I'm going to lead things off here with Najee Harris. I'm recording this Monday night, right after the Monday night games. But I got to mention him. He's probably rostered, but if he's not, the usage for Marion Hampton is really weird. He was on the field way more than Najee in this game, but I don't know what the exact snap share was. I know that in the first half, Hampton was on the field for 73% of the snaps. Haven't seen it for the full game yet, but the fact of the matter is, Najee got more touches in this one, and we saw Hampton fumble at the end of the game. That's certainly not going to help. I'm not saying that Najee's going to take over this backfield, but a big concern for Hampton, like really early in the offseason, was that we were going to see like a near 50-50 split all year long. I think there's at least a path towards that potentially happening. Najee didn't look bad by any means. This is a good offensive line. Najee's just a professional running back. He's not going to hurt the team. And I think there's a path here for Najee Harris to be a weekly reliable option. And if Hampton ended up getting benched, that would certainly be horrendous for him, but Najee could certainly fill in and be really good. So Najee's definitely a priority ad. Cam Scatabo seems to be the lead back in New York now. We saw the offense take a step forward. That's great. Scored a touchdown, out-touched Tracy 14-10. I think if you're going to play a giant running back going forward, it's probably Scatabo. Bashal Tutin looked really good in some sort of limited work here for Jacksonville, but I sort of buy into this. I think he's going to be a really talented player in the NFL, and I think the usage is just only going to trend up. So he needs to be owned for sure if he's not already. Blake Corum, just want to mention him, had a 32% snap share this week. That's pretty high for him in general. He also stole a goal line carry and scored on it from Kyron. Again, against the Titans, I don't want to read into it too much, but it's seeing him get that high of a snap share in week 2. It just means he's, for one, the clear handcuff, and two, maybe he could be like that sort of flex benefit situation where he's a guy you could play on a bench if you needed to. So keep an eye on him. Woody Marks, got to mention him. He's got juice. Texans really need it. He had a really long catch and run in this one. I know Nick Chubb had a big long touchdown run as well. It wasn't like Chubb did anything. He just ran through an open hole and didn't get touched. Nothing that Woody Marks couldn't have done. Damian Pierce was healthy and active for this one, so it's clear that they like Woody Marks quite a bit. Has the most upside, I think, of any Texans running back. I think he should be owned for sure. Tajay Spears, got to mention him. He's a talented player. He should be back for week 5. So now at this point, you got to wait 2 more weeks, then he'd be back. I would be okay adding him at this point if you've got like a deeper league and no IR. And then all the handcuffs, of course, they're probably rostered, but guys like Tyler Algier, Kareem Hunt, Braylon Allen, Rachaad White, got to mention him. He was actually pretty involved for the Bucks this week. Last week, week 1, I wasn't too surprised to see him be super uninvolved just because he was coming off of a groin injury from the preseason as well. I think we're going to see a more, it's not going to be a 50-50 split, right? Bucky's clearly the lead back, but Rachaad White's going to have a role in this backfield, and he's a guy you could play in a pinch if you needed to. Kyle Monangai, just the clear RB2 there. It's gross. It's like Swift is the clear lead, but again, RB2 there, and then Trey Benson as well would be valuable if something were to happen to Connor. Moving on to the wide receiver position, we're going to start off here with Troy Franklin, who has technically been the wide receiver 1 for Denver so far. Back-to-back pretty respectable games here. We saw a huge disappointment for Courtland Sutton. I still expect Sutton to be the wide receiver 1 there in Denver by the end of the year, but Troy Franklin has clearly leveled up, at least to some extent. It's probably part of why they were okay moving off of Vele. It's clearly not Pat Bryant, right? Because Bryant is not a full-time player by any means. Marvin Mims also isn't. Troy Franklin's the clear wide receiver 2 at worst in the offense, and it's possible he leveled up and is the 1. So he should be rostered for sure. Wan'Dale Robinson continues to be involved. Obviously, you're not going to get a 450-yard game out of Russ every single week, but Robinson's the clear wide receiver 2 here. This is a team whose defense clearly still stinks. They're going to have to throw the ball quite a bit, and that means that Wan'Dale as the clear wide receiver 2 on kind of a condensed target tree, right? There's no wide receivers outside of Wan'Dale, Slayton, and then Malik Neighbors really getting involved, and the tight ends aren't super involved either. So Wan'Dale is certainly going to have a pretty high target share, and 19 targets through 2 weeks, you could certainly just see that trend continue. If he's getting 8-9 targets a week, going to be a guy you can play in your flex when you need to. Alec Iamaner, I got to mention him, of course. Mentioned him last week as well, but he just looks the part. He looks really good. Maybe more of a 1B in this offense than the clear wide receiver 2 behind Ridley by the year's end. Has actually outscored Ridley so far on the season. Just looks good. He should be rostered. He's a guy you could flex in a pinch if you needed to in a good matchup for the Titans. Romeo Doubs, just a low-end flex option. If you needed him in a given week, he should probably be rostered, especially with Jaden Reed hurt. I think there's at least more upside for Romeo Doubs on a weekly basis. You could certainly consider playing him if you had to. Darnell Mooney, got to mention him. He's just a talented player. May have been dropped while he was hurt. I think you could play him if you need to. Kayshon Boutte, a disappointing week here in week 2. Scored the touchdown, but it was only 1 target. But I don't want to give up on him. I don't think he should get dropped. I think you're going to see some people drop him after this last week. If he gets dropped or if he's still on waivers, I'd be more than happy to roster him. I want to see it. I see the target share be a little bit higher before I trust him again. But I do think Boutte needs to be rostered. Malik Washington, I think he's talented. I think he's very clearly the wide receiver 3 here in Miami, and they are manufacturing touches for him. I also think that it's not going to be shocking at all if we see a Tyreek Hill trade or just for some reason Tyreek Hill ends up not on the roster at some point in the season. If that were to happen, then obviously Malik Washington would be a very valuable fantasy asset, at least a guy that you could probably consider flexing every single week. Jahmy Brown, just not a bad player. He's involved enough for the Jaguars. It seems to be tough for Trevor Lawrence to get the ball to both Travis Hunter and obviously Brian Thomas Jr. right now. Jahmy Brown's been a beneficiary. You could consider flexing him if you needed to. Isaac Tesla, just a really talented player. I know he's only got 2 catches in the NFL, but they've both been pretty damn good. If he gets more involved in the field, which he really should, I think there's at least some upside there. And the Panthers really need Jalen Coker. So Jalen Coker probably going to miss the next 2 weeks with that injury there. But when he comes back, nobody's really stepping up. I know Renfro scored 2 touchdowns here, but Leggett looks horrendous. They need Jalen Coker back on the field. When he comes back, I think he's going to be right in there as the wide receiver 2 for the Panthers, and he's a guy that you could at least keep an eye on. So I definitely think he should be rostered. Going to the tight end position here, just 3 names I want to highlight. We'll start off with Harold Fannin Jr. Kind of did it again here in week 2. Wasn't a fantastic outing by any means, but 5 for 45. That's a pretty solid outing, honestly, for how bad this Browns offense was. He's a guy that manufacturing touches for. There's a lot of upside if something were to ever happen to Njoku, whether it be a trade or him getting hurt. I think Harold Fann's a guy that could be played. It's like a fringe top 12 guy every single week. And there's upside beyond that if we see him get more involved in the offense. So he should be rostered for sure. Juwan Johnson, this is the big one. If he, for whatever reason, is still on waivers, just clearly really important to the offense. Honestly, might be the number 1 target. It's probably not. Probably the number 2 behind Olave by the year's end. But just a good player. They really valued him this offseason. At this point, I'm in. I buy into it. He's going to be fantasy relevant all year long, so he should be rostered. And then Zach Ertz just won't go away. It keeps getting involved. Should be the number 3 target in this offense, right behind Debo and Terry McLaurin. But so far, he's been the number 2. He's always a threat near the red zone. He's a guy you can play every single week, and he'll probably do okay with that. So he should be rostered for sure as a guy that's at least a streaming candidate every single week. And finally here, we're going to get into some defenses I would consider streaming this week. We'll start off with the Seahawks. They get a matchup against the Saints. That's a great option. Obviously, the Seahawks are a pretty good defense, it seems. And, I think they might have been unrostered because people were a little bit scared of the Steelers. Certainly a team that you could take advantage of here. The Chiefs probably are also on waivers right now. They had a tough matchup against the Eagles this last week. People were probably scared of that. They get to play the Giants next week. I know Rush just went out and cooked for 450, but it's probably a relatively safe bet. That's going to be a pretty low-scoring game. The Colts get to play the Titans in Week 3. The Colts have a good defense. That's a great option. The Bucks get to play the Jets. Doesn't scare me at all there. I like that one as well. The Packers get to play the Browns, and they're elite, and they might have been dropped because of a matchup against the Commanders last week. So if the Packers are available, that's the priority ad for sure. And then the Falcons, I didn't list them here, but the Falcons also have a matchup with the Panthers if you want to exploit that. So that'd be the sixth option if all 5 of these are unavailable. That'll do it for the waiver wire this week. Up next, I'll be getting into some trade targets. So I'll go over a list of players that I'd be looking to trade for, and then some players I'd be looking to sell high on. That'll get split into 2 videos that should both come out on Wednesday. And then we'll get into starts and sits again. So we'll get into every single game this week. Have some really fun games this week, starting off with Thursday Night Football between the Bills and the Dolphins. Lots of good games this week. No matter how your season started, whether you're 0-2, 1-1, 2-0, all that really matters is that we make sure we get our roster improving and trending in the right direction over the course of the whole season. Waivers are a big part of that. Trades and everything, that's going to be a big part of it. And then making sure we set the right lineups and everything's going to be huge. So stick with me all season long. If you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. There will be about 5 videos every single week. So make sure you're subscribed. That way you don't miss any of that. And if you made it this far in the video, give it a thumbs up. It helps me out quite a bit. And of course, any questions or anything, let me know in the comments below. I love interacting with you guys there. So thanks for watching, and I will catch you guys with the next one. Peace. Thank you guys for watching. If you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, check out these other videos here if you haven't. If you want more content, please feel free to follow me on Twitter @RealSteelFFB. I'll be more active on there as the season goes on. Thanks. Catch you later.